Hello, everyone. My name is Alexa. I'm the recruitment specialist at the School of Architecture, Planning, and Landscape at the University of Calgary. Welcome to our Faculty Information Night. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to let you know the session is being recorded and it will be posted so you can rewatch it or share it with friends or family who might be interested as well. To get started, I would like to introduce our panel. Our main presenter will be Professor Alberto de Silveira, who will tell you more about the School of Architecture, Planning, and Landscape and provide an overview of the new Bachelor of Design and City Innovation program. We also have Sarah, our undergraduate program specialist, two student representatives who will share about their first impressions and experiences in the program, and Kaylee, who is a representative from the Recruitment and Admission Network who can answer any and all admission questions at the end. So if you do think of a question during the presentation, please put it in the chat and then we'll answer those at the end. Now, I am very pleased to introduce our speaker today, Alberto, who is the Associate Dean undergraduate and Associate Professor of Urbanism and Data and Architecture at SAPL. He is also founder and director of the Center for Civilization, founding principal of Proxima, and an alumnus of the Global Shapers Community, an initiative by the World Economic Forum based in Geneva, Switzerland. As a transdisciplinary designer and urbanist, Alberto's research agenda and professional work is organized around the pursuit of six streams of inquiry, intersections between the city and morphology, ecology, pedagogy, technology, mythology, and civilization. His work has been published widely and exhibited both domestically and abroad. Previously, he's been part of the Harvard Kennedy School's inaugural Science, Technology, and Society program on expertise, trust, and democracy, and an invited panelist and delegate to the United Nations. We are very lucky to have Alberto with us here today. So everyone, please virtually join me in welcoming Alberto.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you again for joining us this Monday late afternoon, depending on your time zone. Alexa, thank you for that generous introduction. Just to confirm, can all of you hear me correctly?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Alexa. So we're going to get started. As Alexa mentioned, today we're going to talk about the Bachelor of Design in City Innovation Program, also known as the BDCI for in a sort of a shorthand. So today, our agenda for this evening, I'll talk briefly about SAPL. Then we'll go into an introduction in the BDCI program, including key program features, course structure, and topics, and then the overall program structure. Then we'll explore some of the career pathways that the BDCI prepares students for. And then we'll jump into student experience, also hearing from two current students in the BDCI program who will share their perspectives on what the program has offered thus far. And then we'll conclude with a slide on how to connect with further questions, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end of the session where the entire panel will be open to answering your questions. In the meantime, if something comes up, please put it in the chat, and either Alexa will bring it to my attention or we'll address it during the Q&A at the end. I already see that some helpful links are already being populated, so you can tune into the chat for those resources. So let's get started. So first, I'd like to start with a territorial land acknowledgement. Right, the University of Calgary is located in the heart of Southern Alberta, and both acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories of the peoples of Treaty 7, which include the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6.
Welcome to a distinctly different design school experience. Community engaged, performance driven, entrepreneurial, impact oriented, and future focused. We are training leaders to become catalysts for positive local and global change, so that you can learn how to develop solutions to help solve some of the world's great problems.
Even me? Really?
Yes, definitely you. Through challenge-based learning, collaborations with industry, building and prototyping solutions, we are expanding the idea of what it means to be a designer. With bold thinking for the built environment, for sustainability, for equity, for health, for vibrancy, cities made for people and the good of the planet. It's not going to be easy, but you can make change happen. You can change the world. You can create the future of city building.
So I thought I'd begin our presentation today with a nifty little video that the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape produced. I think I now need to, how do I proceed to the next slide without, there we go. And I think it gives a really fantastic overview to some of the experiential components of the school. So, to maybe begin to put some words to that video, the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape is really committed to this integral role to address pressing societal challenges, right? The video mentions things like sustainability, access and equality, climate resilience, public health, social justice, and community building. These are all really critical issues that the design community has both a vested interest in addressing, but also a particular sort of responsibility, right? As agents of change in the built environment, it's up to us to help and contribute to these ongoing solutions that we're trying to seek. So within this context, we can understand that SAPL researchers, but also the broader SAPL community, which includes faculty, staff, students, we use design-based thinking to discover and prototype potential solutions in collaboration with industry partners, municipal partners, right, who are committed to the realization of these healthy, sustainable, vibrant, and equitable cities. So this is sort of a really kind of brief introduction into the overall philosophy and design ethos of the school. Now, as promised, we have we're going to be talking today about the Bachelor of Design and City Innovation program, but that is only one of a number of programs that fall under the aegis of this school. So in addition to our undergraduate programs, which also include a minor in architectural studies, we have three primary professional programs: the Master of Architecture, the Master of Planning, and the Master of Landscape Architecture. These three professional programs are complemented by our post-professional graduate research-based thesis degrees, which are Master of Environmental Design, a PhD in Environmental Design, and a Doctorate of Design, which is sort of aimed towards mid-career industry professionals. And the overall sort of goal of these programs is to, again, tackle some of these most pressing city-centered issues that require transdisciplinary approach, right, that integrates entrepreneurial thinking with physical, social, economic, cultural, and technological thinking towards this better future. But all subsequent slides following this one will focus again just on the BDCI program, the Bachelor of Design and City Innovation. So what exactly is the BDCI program? So if you would want to design a better world, one that's healthier, vibrant, and sustainable, the BDCI will give you a design-based framework, tools, and skills for thinking about the world and its challenges to create positive change in the built environment through inclusive and sustainable city-focused solutions. So some of the aspects to highlight as part of the BDCI program is our hands-on studio-based learning, which tackles real-world projects, often in collaboration with industry, with the municipalities, right, with practitioners who are often instructors as well in our design courses, literacy in advanced digital design tools, data science, entrepreneurship, and sustainability. So we learn about various softwares and the skills needed to handle, produce, make all the variety of different sort of spatial interventions that are sort of required of design disciplines, right? Whether it's rapid prototyping, 3D printing, machining, building, drawing, these are all skills that go beyond just content, right? We're teaching also skills that are easily deployable to other areas. And as you see, once we kind of talk about careers, this will come into better view. And also, the program is concerned with sparking innovation for the betterment of communities and society. So if you want to become an architect, a planner, or a landscape architect, or pursue a city building related career in business, law, public policy, or social work, then the BDCI program would be for you. Some of the curriculum features, the common core of the BDCI is based around experiential learning opportunities that include challenge-based, transdisciplinary, and community-centered courses. So as I mentioned, students acquire design abilities, skills, and theoretical frameworks. And through these courses that progressively sharpen presentation, collaboration, community building skills, you begin to learn and understand more about the connectivity between these various disciplines and how to deploy them. So to focus a little bit more on this curriculum and the precise content of the BDCI, we'll start about talking about studio courses. So studio is really the bread and butter, so to speak, really the kind of beating heart of the BDCI program. Studio and a studio-based curriculum is this sort of open, collaborative atelier, sort of workshop style, classroom active learning modality that engages with design skills and seeks to cultivate these abilities while complementing them with foundational and theoretical comprehension across scales. So these studio courses provide professional work skills such as written, visual, and verbal presentations, along with opportunities to collaborate with community partners, working in transdisciplinary groups, as well as project management and leadership. So most of the work that you might see in exhibitions or presentations is often the work that gets sort of marshaled through studio courses, design studio, where you learn all these sort of the basic, most important skills of a design education. However, studio isn't the only type of course, and it's complemented with a wide array of different other types of courses. The first of these is visualization and design graphics courses. So these develop skills in the visual representation of design, which include traditional methods or analog methods, so drawing, painting, hardline drawing, right? With also other software, as I mentioned before. So this might include geographic information systems, GIS, computer-aided design like CAD. So we learn softwares like Rhinoceros 3D, 3ds Max, Revit, etc. Digital modeling, animation, and fabrication. There's also these QR codes in these slides. So for the students tuning in, feel free to use these QR codes to reference to other pages that might provide additional information. However, I think there will also be links in the chat if you happen to miss one. So complementing the studio and the visualization courses, we also have technical courses. These examine city policies, infrastructure and systems, landscape ecology, and building science. So the BCI, given that it's a transdisciplinary foundational program that aims to sort of orient and build connections between SAPL's three disciplines, architecture, landscape architecture, and planning, therefore contains technical courses across these various scales, and therefore provides students with a really sort of rich foundation as to how these things go together, which provides an additional advantage when choosing to go into one of the three professional streams for grad school, if that's one of the sort of career pathways that you might be interested in. We also have global citizenship courses, and these build awareness and critical thinking through a broad contextual understanding of the environmental, social, technological, historical, and economic forces that impact the physical and social infrastructure of cities. So these courses help to support the innovative design interventions being explored in the studio courses. We also have data science courses as well. These provide a fundamental understanding of how data, computation, and sensing can help better understand how the complex and interconnected physical and social infrastructure of cities perform in both the current state and in response to design interventions. Now, these data science courses are also a option. Well, there are some that are required, but within these options, it helps prepare students to also undertake a data science minor or a variety of certificates. So some of these courses that we're mentioning here allow students to then pursue those particular interests and get a minor or get a certificate like the sustainability certificate or the entrepreneurship certificate, for instance. We also have these specialty courses as well. So complementing the data courses, we have these specialty courses. There's two that are oriented on sustainability and provide a basic understanding of how cities and the people who live in them impact the climate crisis. And these examine the theory, measurement, and practice of sustainability from the local to the global. And then, of course, entrepreneurial thinking. These introduce students to entrepreneurial thinking as a mode of implementing design-based solutions in practice. And similar to the data science courses, the sustainability studies courses and entrepreneurial thinking courses, these also position students to either take a sustainability certificate or entrepreneurial certificate if those courses pique your interest. So if as you craft your 4-year experience, because there's a number of bespoke options, and as you begin to take these required core courses, like the sustainability ones or entrepreneurial thinking, students get the opportunity to decide if they want to pursue a further sort of specialization within those disciplines. And some other program features to sort of discuss as part of the BDCI program. In the final year of the program, there will be a work integrated learning studio. This means that students will work in small studio groups to complete an industry-based consulting project under the supervision of a professional team. So this might look like working with the city of Calgary to examine or redeploy or perhaps even redesign some sort of policy framework or some sort of design intervention for the city. This might look like working for industry, so an architecture firm or with a landscape architecture firm, again, to tackle some sort of design or a design competition. And these community-based projects integrate industry and academia to introduce important industry contexts. And we find this work integrated learning studio is really a fantastic opportunity to help also set up for future employment opportunities. And of course, along the course of the 4 years of the BDCI program, there's a significant attention towards gaining technical literacy with digital tools for emerging needs in city building, right? So even outside of the career pathways that we're about to discuss, this technical literacy is one that cannot be taken away and can be applied to a number of different areas beyond even just the 3 sort of professional degrees the BCI prepares for, or even outside of those 3 career pathways. And those include things like 3D modeling, rendering, graphic design, digital fabrication, which includes 3D printing, laser cutting, CNC milling, robotics, data-driven planning platforms. There's really quite a longer list, right? But these are just some of the few advanced tools that you can expect to learn across the 4 years in the BCI program. So maybe speaking a bit more about program structure. The BCI is a 4-year, 120-unit degree consisting of these common core courses. And in addition, or as part of those 120 units, students will have the option to either apply for an architecture or landscape architecture concentration. Then there's also the possibility of a minor, which might be in urban studies, health and society, management and society, or data science, and or to complete an embedded certificate within sustainability studies on or entrepreneurial thinking. Now, one can't do all these minors and all these certificates all at the same time, given that there's only a limited number of available electives, right? However, in consultation with individual students, our undergraduate program specialist, Sarah, she's here in the chat, assist students in sort of crafting a kind of a personalized course pathway in order to target and ensure that the interests of the students are being sort of met as we sort of plan the 4 years. So there's a number of options, and many of these don't really have to, one doesn't really have to decide until year 2 or even year 3. So it gives students some time to decide what are their interests and which of these pathways, if any, they would like to pursue. Within this 120 units, there's also space for electives. And again, this allows each individual student to craft an individualized learning experience. Now, if you're primarily interested in using the BDCI as preparation for entry into one of our 3 professional programs, Master of Architecture, Master of Landscape Architecture, or the Master of Planning, there are more specified pathways, right? For architecture, landscape architecture, that's the concentration. So if you want to go into the MArch or the MPlan, there's the respective concentrations for each of those. If you're interested in going into the MPlan, which is a 2-year degree compared to the 3-year architecture and the 3-year landscape architecture, if you want to go into the 2-year planning degree, there's also a number of electives that are oriented towards that course. Now, I mentioned that the architecture landscape architecture degrees are 3 years, but through the BDCI, it prepares you, it takes 1 year off. So the final year ends up applying towards the foundation year of the architecture or landscape architecture program. So each of those programs end up being 2 years instead. And I already mentioned the Work Integrated Learning Studio, but I forgot to mention that there's also a capstone project meant as a last studio that the student takes, and those are meant to align with the student's areas of interest. So let's talk about, you know, what sort of careers might the BDCI prepare you for? So as mentioned, students learn design thinking skills to create and prototype objects, buildings, city structures, and landscape projects. And designers, of course, make decisions in complex situations that are incomplete and change over time. So they use strategic approaches to problem solve and incorporate critical and multi-scalar insights to analyze problems and create innovative interventions. So courses within the BDCI are oriented towards providing students skills to develop solutions to address global issues. Some of these sort of problematiques that might be examined or explored in courses might relate to creating sustainable constructed environments, reduce systemic racism, improving quality of life through vibrant public spaces and economic vitality, right? These are all pressing topics that would benefit from a design perspective, a design solution. So what are some of these career pathways? I already alluded to 3 of them, architecture, planning, and landscape, but I want to maybe explore those a bit more. But first, what's really important to really sort of take away from this particular slide is that there is a wide variety of career and academic pathways available to BDCI graduates. Of course, the first 2, as I mentioned before, is the licensed architect or landscape architect. If you want to be either of these, you must complete a Master of Architecture or a Master of Landscape Architecture in order to get licensed. So if either of these is a pathway that you're passionate about or that you already know you want to undertake, then the Bachelor of Design and City Innovation program prepares you to go into either of these. And as part of these, you can pick these as concentrations. So there's also licensed planner. which means that you have to undertake a Master of Planning. And again, if you're, enroll in the BDCI program, this program also prepares you for entry into the M Plan, making available a wide number of electives to also begin to further tailor some of the topic specific and issue specific areas of focus that the planning program likes to examine further. And given there's a number of different types of planning, electives provide students with an opportunity to develop competencies in disciplines or topics of interest that might become useful later on in their M-Plan program and then later on when they're seeking employment. However, in addition to the architecture, planning, and landscape architecture pathways, there's also a number of city innovation careers that the BDCI prepares students for. And if you're interested in doing law or social work, public policy, public health, business, data science, all these different city building related professions or graduate programs would be well served through the BDCI program. So some of the city building related careers in the private, public, or nonprofit sectors might include things as such as a public art manager, a market research analyst, a social programs advisor, a neighborhood resource coordinator, community development officer, engagement coordinator, policy analyst, sustainability analyst, green building analyst, right? These are all a variety of career options that are available upon graduation from the BDCI program. Although some of these, particularly if you want and looking to get into law or social work, might require other advanced degrees as well. So important to note, and if any of you already have certain things in mind, right, once you're accepted into the program, we can work with you to better craft some of these pathways to ensure that the selection of electives and any certificates or minors are well aligned with what you'd like to execute. And of course, if you already have some of those questions, you can feel free to either reach out or ask at the end of this session. Now, let's maybe switch some gears and talk a little bit about the student experience. Now, we have a number of different components that help maximize and support the student experience. The most prominent of those is the Design Matters lecture series, which is a lecture series that we have every year that brings world-renowned practitioners across all of SAPL's disciplines to lecture on a variety of topics and projects and provide students with additional insight beyond the classroom. We also have community-based service learning projects. We host a variety of sort of extracurricular events such as Brown Bag Talks. Most recently, I think today, we had one hosted by Stantec, which is a global design firm. And they do this sort of lunch and learns where they have a professional come and talk and students have an opportunity to meet and network with local industry leaders. We have program symposia and a variety of other sort of academic events, including studio reviews, exhibitions, etc. We also have some new programs that are helping to support specific aspects of the student experience. So we recently inaugurated the Indigenous Pathways program, and this is to help facilitate entry from Indigenous students into the BDCI. We have a SAPL Student Association who hosts social events, industry night mixers, a year-end gallery exhibition. We're in the process of creating our own undergraduate student association as well. This is the Graduate Student Association. So these are ways that students can help get involved and promote overall sort of connectivity and sort of social events, which are a really central part of any collegiate experience. And just to highlight just one club, Just SAPL is sort of accountable for environmental justice and racial equity in the school's culture, curriculum, outreach, hiring, and admissions. So this is sort of a new initiative that we're featuring. So, and rather than just hear me talk about what the student experience is, I wanted to maybe welcome some student voices to speak on their experience. So you're not hearing it from me, you're hearing it from the students. So, Chloe, first, I would like to open the floor for you. And if you could share with our audience um, some of these questions. So, why do you choose SAPL in the BDCI program? What has your experience been like? What advice would you give people who are considering the program, and what career pathway are you currently considering? So Chloe, take it away.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So, hi, my name is Chloe Layout. I am a first-year student at the BDCI program, and I'm really happy to be here. So first of all, why did I choose SAPL and the BDCI program? I chose BDCI because I've always been, or let me think. I've always been a passionate person, and I've always been passionate on how to make cities more equitable and walkable. I grew up in Kelowna, British Columbia, which unfortunately is a pretty car-centric city. So um, going to school, I would have to I would have to take a really weird path to school and a really weird path back. I would have to cross the highway, which is very, very dangerous. So I've really been advocating for making cities more walkable because we want to have dignity for the pedestrian. There's many reasons why people can't drive, don't drive, and I really advocate for cities that put the people first instead of the car. Second, what has my experience been like? So my experience at BDCI has been really, really fun. I actually didn't have any art experience coming into this program, so it was a bit of a steep learning curve, but if you don't have any art experience, you should be fine. You will be taught how to do line weights, how to draw plan drawings, and how to draw buildings. So don't worry about that. And what's really fun about the BDCI program is that the cohort is pretty small. We're a cohort of, I think, 63 people. So it's a really tight-knit group. You really get to know everyone. Everyone kind of already becomes friends, and it's really empowering to have like so many people as a support group, and we can all uplift each other. What advice would I give to people who are considering the program? So my first advice I would give is to definitely start thinking about how you should manage your time. In high school, I was definitely a really big procrastinator. If I had an assignment coming up, I was always waiting until the last minute to do it. But with this program, since we're more studio-based, more assignment-based, the work is a little bit more intense. So I would really focus on how to manage your time more efficiently. Definitely try not to leave things very last minute because it gets a bit stressful sometimes, but once you learn how to manage your time, this program really learns or teaches you how, then you should be smooth sailing. Another advice I would say is to take advantage of the office hours. All of the professors are really nice. They're really supportive. They're not, they seem scary at first, but once you get to know them, they're really friendly. And they're all they all want to help you out. You're very new to design, so they want to make sure that your experience is as smooth as possible and you can get the most success out of this program. Another advice I would give is to definitely get to know people. you'll definitely find someone who you'll click with, no matter if you're really loud and like vibrant and extroverted person, or if you're more of an introverted person. It's really nice to see like a very diverse cohort, and you'll definitely find friends no matter who you are. And making friends is really, really important because sometimes you'll need help, and it's really nice to see everyone helping each other out. Yeah. And the fourth question, what career pathway am I currently considering? So I think I'm currently considering either city planning or landscape architecture. Again, I've been really passionate on how to make cities more walkable and equitable and vibrant, and city planning kind of checks all of those boxes. So yeah, that's been my experience in the BDCI program.
Chloe, thank you so much for your perspectives. I now want to invite Brianna to also offer her voice.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Lovely. Hi, everyone. My name is Rihanna Shams. First of all, thank you, Alberto, and also thank you, Chloe. Chloe didn't mention that she is a class rep in our section, which is something that BDCI does, that like every section kind of has a representative that really is able to act as a liaison between the professors and the students, and that's been really helpful. So I think that's my favorite part of the BDCI program. I'm answering the second question first, if that's okay. Is that like we really have a really close-knit connection with the professors, and we're able to kind of say our input in like projects and deadlines, all those things. So it really just does help. Like you kind of have control over the curriculum too, which makes it so much better. And at the same time, I also love that I've been able to make such close relationships with so many different people in the program. Like Chloe said, it's a very tight-knit, small group of humans that you spend basically your entire day with. As studio works does get really long and tedious, but you really build those relationships with both your peers and your professors within this program. So that's been my favorite part about the program. But initially, I chose SAPL in the BDCI program because I come from Lethbridge, which is a small town in Alberta, and there's a lot of problems with homelessness in the city. So I always thought of making cities more equitable and just better for everyone, no matter their income. And the other reason I chose this program is because I worked with the University of Lethbridge for a while in making adaptive technology for people with disabilities. So that really inspired me to also make cities more accessible to people if they have disability or they just have troubles with mobility or anything. And we've had a lot of lectures in the BDCI program regarding both homelessness and accessibility in cities. So all my questions have been answered. And the advice I would give to people, to all of you guys who are considering entering the program, I think you have to have this goal in mind, and that goal or that motivation of why you entered the program in the first place is really what's going to motivate you to keep going despite all of the long tasks and all the drawings that you have to do. That's what's going to make you want to finish. So everyone come in with a goal that you aim to achieve. And the second thing, I think also just reach out for help when you need it. We have great professors like Alberto, and they all help us out no matter what. They're very lenient. We also have really great peers, as I mentioned before, that people can just look at each other for help and guidance, and you can get inspiration from other people. You learn about different people's perspectives on things, so that's really helpful too. And then lastly, my current career plans. That's a great question. I've been thinking of going into urban planning to really incorporate more equitable and more accessible ideas into city making. But at the same time, I would absolutely love to go into law and look more at the theoretical side of urban planning. So yeah, those are my answers. Thank you, Alberto.
Rihanna, Chloe, thank you again for your perspectives. Thank you again for sharing your experience in the BDCI program. It really makes a difference. So thank you again for your participation. And for those of you who are tuning in, if you want to ask questions of Rihanna and Chloe, they'll be available as well in just a few minutes for the Q&A. So if you have other questions, you can also type them, and we'll address them as we go. So I'll just have a few more slides, and then we'll proceed into the question and answer portion of our presentation. So if you'd like to connect with SAPL and you want to learn more, whether it is to attend an Ask SAPL session or request a one-on-one meeting or register for our coming events, we have a number of public events. The most immediate one is on Wednesday. We have a public lecture in our City Building Design Lab. This is our downtown sort of hub that allows us to meet closely with the municipality, with industry, and we have a gallery there and a large exhibition, an event hall, and that's where we're hosting one of our Design Matters lecture series events. So that happens on Wednesday. I'll also mention an upcoming event in just the next slide. But if you also have questions, you can email at bdci@sapl.ucalgary.ca, and I'll give you all maybe a few seconds to click on this QR code. And if not, we'll return to it. And then, so we also have another upcoming BDCI information session. This is a little bit different in that it's a design sample lecture. There's a totally virtual from 6:30 to 7:30 on January 23rd. And this will be a lecture on a city precedent that intersects ecology, landscape architecture, and urbanism in a South American context. So there's just a very small piece slash window slash kind of teaser as to the sort of conversations and discussions that one can expect as part of the BDCI program. So that upcoming sample lecture is a virtual event, January 23rd from 6:30 to 7:30. So questions. We're now in our an official Q&A portion of the evening, and I think we have some on the chat. And maybe I'll go through each of these one by one. Alexa, does that sound good, or would you like to tackle some of these first?
Yeah, no, I think why don't I moderate some of them for you, and then you can provide the responses if that's all right.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, so how many students are accepted each year, and how many students usually apply?
Okay, so this number will change. Last year, we accepted 66 students, which was an 11% admittance rate. Next year will be doubling the size of our incoming class to 132. However, we're seeing an sort of increased number of applications as well, so we can expect the admissions rate to remain maybe close to the one last year or this year. Sarah, I don't know if you'd like to add anything to that response, or Alexa, if you'd like to add anything to that response.
Nothing to add. I think Alberto has already covered it really well. We anticipate that admission into this program is highly competitive, not just because it's new, but because of the things that we bring with this program. And as we continue to expand, we hope to bring in more students, but I highly recommend applying for this program. And also, biggest thing from my end as the undergraduate program specialist is to really look at making sure you're meeting your high school requirements and doing well in your courses, because those will be taken into consideration when you apply to BDCI.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you both. Okay. Are there internships for the architecture program?
So as part of the architecture concentration and the landscape architecture concentration, there will be an opportunity for students to take a work integrated learning studio. And these are studios that are placed within an office with an architecture, design, landscape architecture office, or a municipal partner or another type of industry partner, let's say like a robotics company. And this would be akin to sort of like a co-op or an internship, although we structure it a little bit different so that the pedagogical objectives are still sort of achieved through the studio modality.
Hey, thank you. All right. And also that kind of mimics what we do in the graduate programs, which has had really great feedback from our students as well. So it's a really cool experience. All right. Is BDCI located on the main campus of U of C?
So that's a fantastic question. We are currently located in the main campus of the U of C. However, in the coming years, the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape is planning to move to a downtown location. As part of our initiatives to revitalize the city of Calgary and be a leader in these conversations around the built environment and how to make our cities better, the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape has made a commitment to relocate to a downtown location. One of the myriad of towers that are sort of sprinkling downtown, and make that our new home. Given that our current home, our current building, is not big enough to hold our rapidly expanding faculty. So currently we have our Master of Architecture students are already downtown in the City Building Design Lab, which is the former Calgary Public Library building that is next door to City Hall. However, at some future dates, we will have the entirety of SAPL, so all of the graduate programs and all the undergraduate programs in one location. So up until that point, the BCI is at the main campus, but in the future will likely be downtown.
Okay, thank you, Alberto. All right, next question here. If I wanted to become an urban planner, would a BDCI be suitable, or would a Master of Planning be more beneficial? So maybe we can discuss how those two programs kind of complement each other and what the pathway would be for becoming an urban planner, please.
Absolutely. So great question, Hannah. In order to become an urban planner, in order to become a licensed urban planner, you must complete a Master of Planning program. Because that is a graduate degree, you will need to complete an undergraduate degree beforehand. And the best preparation for a Master of Planning degree would probably be the Bachelor of Design and City Innovation program. However, there are other pathways that you could take. You could do urban studies at U of C and then go into the M-Plan program. However, the urban studies program is not studio-based, so design skills and other software skills that are central and a hallmark to the BDCI program would not be part of the learning that takes place as part of the urban studies bachelor's, for instance. You might also decide to learn biology or ecology or any number of disciplines. The M-Plan program is sort of can happen independently of the undergraduate experience. Most often, students that are already sort of thinking about becoming a planner will orient their undergraduate degree to have some sort of coverage of topics that are relevant to urban studies and urbanism in cities. So in that context, the Bachelor of Design and City Innovation program would be the best preparation for that.
Hey, thank you. All right. How many students will be accepted into the program this year? Sorry, I think we mentioned it, but can we just reiterate it, please?
Yeah, of course. We'll be accepting up to 132 students for fall 2024.
Great. Thank you. All right. Next question here. Is it guaranteed admission into your chosen concentration?
That's a fantastic question, Matthew. Thank you. Admission into a concentration is at the moment not guaranteed. There will be a limited number of spots for each of the concentrations, so it will be a competitive process. Now, that being said, we're still not at the stage where students are declaring concentration, so we're still trying to gauge how many students might be interested in particular concentrations. So we're going to be, orienting those numbers to what the demand will be. However, there will be sort of an upper limit. There'll be a select number of architecture spots, select number of landscape architecture spots. There'll be enough spots for all the number of students that we have enrolled, but it will be competitive. So I wish I could answer that question with more specificity. Sarah, I don't know if there's something you'd like to add.
No, but I think you covered it already. Currently, it is a competitive process to get into the concentrations. So for all students who come into U of C to take the BDCI program, you all start with the BDCI general pathway. And then in your second or third year, that's when you apply for the concentration. So at this point, all of our current cohort of students are in the general pathway, given that the first 2 years of this program is the same across all 3 pathways. But next year will be when our first cohort will be considering whether or not they want to switch into a concentration, and we'll be going through that process. So at this time, it is a competitive process, and there are a lot of details on our academic calendar that talks about what you need to complete, what you need to fulfill to meet those eligibility requirements. So I would say, as an incoming student, your best focus is to follow the program guide that we provided you, and taking those courses that we have recommended. And if you are thinking of changing from that pathway, it's very important to talk to someone like me, the undergraduate program specialist, or another SAPL advisor, if you choose to change your pathway, because depending on how many courses you take or what you want to take at a later time, it may affect your application for the concentration. So you might not be able to switch into it in your second or third year. You have to wait longer if you're taking less courses, for example.
One thing to maybe add on to that, thank you, Sarah, is that the concentration in some ways is a could be akin or maybe comparable to honors programs in other schools or other institutions, where top performing students compete, right, to get this particular recognition, because the concentration is something that will be noted in your transcripts, right, in your diploma. So to be selected, right, to be part of the highest echelon of students that get into either the architecture or the landscape art concentration does require that competitive aspect, given that it is going to be slightly more work than the regular pathway, because there's at least one more studio, right? A few specified electives. So the concentrations are really, in some ways, do demand some additional attention, and therefore there's that competitive aspect.
I will add, though, that the general pathway is just as relevant, often for students who are interested in doing the Master of Planning, because the general pathway, although it's not in a concentration, it offers you the opportunity to really explore different subjects related to planning. So students who might be interested in law and society, they might take more of those courses to incorporate in their undergrad degree to prep them for the Master of Planning. And the other reason to keep in mind with the concentrations is mainly they're helping students to waive that foundation year in the Masters of Architecture or the Masters of Landscape Architecture. So the part that Alberto was talking about in terms of extra studios and skills like that, those are to ensure that you are prepared for the rigor of those graduate courses without taking the foundation year. So something to think about as well. And then the general pathway, I have seen that some students are considering it because, one, they want to go into Master of Planning, but two, maybe they aren't ready yet to dive into grad school, but they really want to set themselves up as designers who understand the theory and have the technical skills to jump right into it after they graduate. So the general pathway is a very good way to explore and still build those skills for when you want to graduate in 4 years.
Great. Sorry, Alberto, do you have something else to add there?
I was gonna say absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. That's what I was gonna say.
Thank you both. Yeah. And I just want to mention, because I know there's been a lot of discussion around concentrations, that all of our professional graduate programs, so if you wanted to continue with the Master of Architecture, Planning, or Landscape Architecture, those programs will accept students who have just taken the general pathway through BDCI. The concentration would be the difference between if you would be eligible for the 2 or 3 year professional graduate programs. So that's totally okay. If you're not ready to commit to a concentration within the BDCI, you can still carry on with those professional programs afterwards. All right. How far away is downtown Calgary from the main campus? Can you live in residency and walk to SAPL if it was located downtown? Vice versa.
So that's a great question. I guess how far downtown Calgary is from or how far our current downtown building, the City Building Design Lab, is from the main campus is a matter of which mode of transportation we're talking about, right? If I take a car, it's probably like 15 minutes. If I'm taking the train, it could be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, depending on number of stops or how long that's taking. If you're taking a bus, that's sort of different. I would maybe, if you're interested as to very specific sort of numbers, Google Maps, you can find the Professional Faculties Building, so that's PF. And then in downtown, the City Building Design Lab. Now, our current downtown location, the City Building Design Lab, is not going to be our permanent forever home downtown. It'll be somewhere else. So we can't fully answer that question. But it's in close proximity. So currently we have students that live downtown and commute to the main campus. We have students who live in main campus, commute downtown. In the context of Calgary, though, which is a very, very, very large city, I would say those two locations are fairly close.
All right. And do we have any other comments maybe from other panelists on the residency portion there? I know maybe Sarah, do you have any insight into that?
I think it depends on where you want to be, but if I always recommend to students look into UCalgary residence services for your first year. Residence is a great place to meet people, especially if you're not from Calgary or you're from even just outside of Calgary. It's good. They have a lot of programming and a lot of community building. So it really does help with that potential isolation that you might feel coming into university for a first time in a different area. So I do highly recommend checking into resident services. Biggest thing, not just for residents, but also for admission in general, is to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your emails and all the requirements that they ask of you, just because residents can be quite competitive getting into a spot. So you want to make sure that you're meeting all the deadlines to pay your deposit, to respond to emails, to submit certain things so that both your admission application as well as your residence application goes through smoothly.
All right. Thank you. Thank you both. Would you need a portfolio to apply for concentrations?
That's a fantastic question. As we have not yet gone through the process of admitting students into the concentration, I wouldn't be able to speak to the specific requirements. In all likelihood, however, a portfolio would be required for entry into the concentrations.
I'm going to jump in because for now, not yet. We don't have a portfolio requirement. So I've put in a link to the academic calendar. That is the current SAPL regulation for the change of program. So that's where you would apply to elect into a concentration. And then in that link, there's another link to the architecture and landscape architecture concentration. So when you click on that, it does provide more details of currently what our students need to meet to apply for the concentration. So if you look at it, it would list the types of courses that you need to complete, as well as a certain GPA, a minimum GPA to be considered for your application. So that's the current regulation for it. And what I recommend is take a look at that. Also, Alexa did share the BDCI degree planning page previously. So that's also a very good resource to look at in terms of the 4-year progression in this program. And between either the written guide or the visual guide, both of them indicate when you should start thinking about the change of program process if you want to do a concentration. So the biggest thing is if you actually follow our program guides currently, they will ensure that you're meeting all the requirements that you need to take in terms of courses so that you can apply for the concentration in your 2nd year to start it as early as your 3rd year.
All right, thank you both. So given how popular the program is, will the number of spots expand again? And I'm guessing for September 2025, and the event that they don't get accepted this year for 2024.
That's a great question. At the moment, I would not be able to comment on whether or not the number of students would increase again in fall 2025. All I can share at the moment is the number of spots that we're projected to accept for fall 2024, which is up to 132 students.
Great. All right. Thank you. We have one last question here. How many electives can a 1st-year BDCI student fit into their course load?
Sarah, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, for sure. So the answer is it depends. It depends on what you want to take in your 1st year, because some of our students will want to follow the program guide. So again, I do recommend taking a look at the BDCI degree planning page because it shows what we recommend you take in your first few years. So in our recommendation, the 1st year and the 2nd year are predominantly design courses. And a lot of those multidisciplinary courses we had mentioned in this program. So like the data science, as well as computer science and entrepreneurial thinking and sustainability. So the first 2 years is a lot of building that foundation so that you can explore further in your 3rd and 4th year. So if you were to follow our recommendation, your electives come in your 3rd and 4th year. Now, that being said, sometimes students, especially those who want to do the general pathway, they might go at it in a different route. So they might take less courses. They might want to take other courses and explore first. So I would say if you're considering that, definitely check in with me, book an appointment, especially as a current student. Then we can talk about the different options that you're choosing and how that might affect your progression. And then when you're asking about how many electives you can fit, again, it depends on how many courses you want to take. So typically for a full-time student, they take around 5 courses a semester or 15 units. And so if you take less, or if you take, like if you want to take 3 classes, then it depends on what you want to prioritize. If you want to take up to 5, but not all the classes we recommend, then that would also change what you can fit. So it really does depend on the kind of course load you want to have in your 1st year. And again, I think just in closing, connect with me, book in a SAPL advising session just to go over it. I don't know if we've shared it yet, but there is a program advising page that we have for SAPL. And that is a good place to even jump in if you have questions, even after this session today. So I offer not only one-on-one advising appointments, but we also have group advising sessions. So those Zoom links are on there as well for you to check in about. And then, so multiple ways to check in with me about it. We can talk from there.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Sarah and Alberto. Yeah, as Sarah mentioned, we put some hopefully helpful links into the chat, including that advising. Also, we have put in information about the upcoming session that's going to be in January. We have the Future Students page where you can always find updates on some of the things that we have going on. You're always invited. And then we also have those career pages, the degree planning pages, things like that. So hopefully you can go back up into the chat and find those helpful links and resources. If not, please email us at bdci@sapl.ucalgary.ca. We are happy also to take your questions and provide resources there. I want to thank all of our panelists today for helping with the presentation. Alberto, Chloe, and Rihanna, thank you so much, as well as for Kaylee and Sarah for answering questions today. Finally, I want to thank all of you for your time and interest in our program. We hope to see your applications, and best of luck with everything. Thanks, everyone.